Now taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I had 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in app by 2/18.
347-205-9399. Joining us on the air is the absolutely amazing, fantastic, awesome, intelligent, beautiful, creative. Hold on, I'm going on the list still, Tami. I still have that list. I never gave it up. I got them all, I think.
Ball of fire, explosively awesome, like dynamite.
All the other names that Tami likes it when we, on the list that she gave us to call her, we make sure we get them out every time she's on the air. Tami Jackson is with us, the host, Monday through Friday at 1430 KYKN in Salem, Oregon.
So does that mean you gave her a list because your nickname Little Ball of Hate? Is that on there?
No, that's a different one altogether.
Okay, I didn't know.
Hey, Tami, before we get into Russia real quick, I'm just going to ask, what other interviews have you done regarding your new show? Is this like your first real interview with it?
This is the first real interview. I figured who better to celebrate with than Sean and Clint, the Sackheads pals.
Hey, hold on. What about me?
Well, and
yes, and also Sacco. King Sacco is awesome.
You know Sacco's wearing a white tutu right now?
Oh,
I can't. If we had a way to send pictures, I would completely send a picture. So he has a I believe it's a circa 1983. He got it at like a thrift store, jazzercise uniform.
It looks miraculous.
It looks, and it's
I
kind
hope
of
he
got
doesn't
that
look like Richard Simmons.
No, he doesn't. But it's got it's that shimmery teal color, the jazzercise with the white leg warmers and the white tutu, and he's got this like it looks like a merkin hanging out from the top.
It's really a sight to be seen. Listen. If anyone comes down to San Francisco this weekend to the California Republican Convention 2014, you will see some of the wonderful outfits that we get.
If you've seen Borat, you kind of have an idea. It's like that, like ugly bums. But
so back from here we go to Russia. Let's engage right into a serious conversation after that.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that came up, and Clint brought up a good point early in the last segment, is
I nailed it. Just
the vote on Crimea and essentially why we possibly could recognize it, that the argument's there that if they vote to separate from the Ukraine, then do we respect it? Should we respect it? He used the analogy that if it happened in this country, especially on the conservative side, we would have a tendency to be supportive on it. And Tami, I want to get your reaction just real quick. My insight on that is, if it was a straight up separation prior to all of this, and I didn't feel that the elections were going to be jaded by Russian influence, almost like when he got 104% of the vote in Russia, or this president got 100% of a vote in Pittsburgh, things like that bring up voting issues. That's my problem with that. Is the fact that I believe that vote is going to be skewed. I believe that it's just it's essentially they're going to be marched to vote. And that's my concern. If it was a vote that 6 months ago, before the Russians even came into it, they said, hey, we want to annex. And then if they pass a legitimate vote and then the Ukraine government smashed them down, it would be a different animal. Tami?
Yeah. Well, I'm listening, and I'm thinking about this because I've been caught up in this vortex the last couple of days of working like crazy and negotiations, and so I've missed a lot of this. So what are the plans as of right now for Crimea wants to be annexed from Ukraine?
Well,
Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday they're going to have a vote to determine. A lot of the residents in the Crimea region are Russian speakers. They're Russian. They were under the former Soviet Union, and they actually are Russian sympathizers. A lot of them have Russian flags that came out when the forces were in there.
Right.
And so there's going to be a vote on Sunday to determine whether they want to join the Russian Russia or not, essentially, or if they want to start going down that path. And And I think there's an argument that can be made on both sides. Look, from a strategic point of view, if like I think, hey, we're potentially entering another era of another Cold War, and we kind of outlined why we think that way and why Obama's foreign policy has led us here, dating back to 2011. And
his policy has invited this, I think.
No, absolutely, especially, and it started in 2011 when Hillary made the comment about Putin's election, and then how it went February 2012.
And
all
Mr.
of a sudden,
Flexible,
right. And Russian Admiralty said, "Hey, well, we're starting worldwide patrols with our ballistic missile submarines again. They haven't done that since the Cold War." And then,
just trying to help.
And then the things that we've seen with their bombers and so forth around our interests. But I think that a straight-faced libertarian conservative argument could be made, especially since those residents are sympathetic to Russia. Two, and again, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it. I just think it's an interesting discussion point. I had this discussion with somebody yesterday, and it is, do they have the right to throw off a government that they don't like, i.e. the Ukraine, and adopt another government that they feel suits their needs, if it is done in a legitimate fashion? Now, Sean raised a valid concern. Is it going to be in a legitimate fashion? I think
this is the concerns. This is the concerns I would have, because if it was done in a legitimate fashion and it was an honest vote and the people really wanted to join Russia, that's one thing. But the problem I have is that we know that Putin is concerned with hegemony. He wants to, as far as I'm concerned, he wants to get back the strength of the old USSR and start recruiting some of these nations again. And so I can see him gradually, trying to suck in more and more of these peripheral countries. And so that really gives me pause.
It does. But do you think the people themselves have a right to determine what form of government is best for them, even if it's communism?
Well, they do if it is just the people, if there's no coercion and nothing underhanded in the election. But
no thug politics.
Yeah, and it's just hard to know, because you think about the area of the world it is. It's like elections being held in the Middle East. How much do we really believe that they count or matter, or and how much is coerced and determined outcomes? It's hard to say right there, because when you look at Putin, an ex-KGB thug, I would put nothing past him. I really wouldn't. And there are times when I almost long to have somebody like that in America, not a thug, but somebody that's that darn tough. And we've got the guy that wears short bicycle pants and a helmet to ride a little girly man bike. Yeah, that can't throw a pitch over the mound and from the mound over the plate, rather. We've got a wuss of a president, and he's just invited all kinds of bad actors to do things in the Middle East and in Russia.
Well, Rooster brought up a good point in the chat room, and I don't have the treaty in front of me. I have actually glanced it over before, that the United States, the treaty we have with the Ukraine, when they gave all the nukes back to Russia for their sovereignty, essentially, and for Russia to have stake no claim to them. And his question was, it says not to allow annexation. Yeah, and I don't know if that goes, but even still, even if it's a legitimate vote, and the people want that,
and the whole Ukraine has not been annexed,
then that part, we'll call it Crimea, would not be part of the Ukraine anymore. So therefore, that annexation.
And is it an annexation if it's a free breakaway? Right. If it's a separation of their own free will, is it an annexation? I would argue that it is not. Right. It is not. If they make that choice. Right. At this point, it could be argued as such. You have Russian troops in there. There's a vote. It's coerced. I think you could make the argument. The argument. I'm not saying it would be right, but I'm saying I think you could make the argument that, hey, Russia has annexed the Crimea region. Yes. And hey, based upon the treaty, we're not going to recognize that. Well, it's legitimate point of view. Crimea is an already autonomous part of the Ukraine. It has a self-governing system, but one of the issues with that is the last few years,
there has been an influx of what is believed to have been Russian-installed politicians that have been leading it that way, and building up. So, you could argue that as far back as
this is I'm going to insert something that's kind of weird, but I have these twin cousins and wonderful guys, and they're going over to Hungary for 2 years. They're not Mormons. They're just going over for 2 years to work with a group called Josiah Venture, and it's kind of like Young Life for Eastern, what used to be, behind the wall. And what they do is they're going to start soccer teams and work with youth, and they do stuff like Young Life Ministry type model stuff. And they already went over there for 6 months, and they said, man, we toured everywhere around all those Baltic regions, close to Russia. He said everywhere that was the footprint where the former Soviet Union, where those communist countries were, are the high rates of suicide, hopelessness. It's amazing. They said that these teens just glommed onto us. You would ask them, do you have any friends? Most of them in a group of 100, something like 2% would say they actually had a friend they talked to. Nobody else has close friendships. They're very poor. The rate of suicide is high. It's like communism left, and there was a big vacuum, and there was a financial and a spiritual just nothingness there. And these people are dirt poor. They have no faith. They have no nothing. And it's just sad because kids are growing up with this hopeless attitude. So my cousins are really drawn to go over there. They went to college on soccer scholarships and were fantastic with that. And they've worked with youth groups as they've been growing up. They really had a burden for those countries. And they said, man, you go over there and you see people that are hopeless. So you get a country that's like Ukraine and Crimea as part of Ukraine, and there's still a lot of that shadow there. So you get these bad politicians in there that are from Russia. And let me tell you, they start promising stuff. It's like the poor in this country listening to Obama, and he's going to give them phones and take care of them from the cradle to the grave. And there's some promises that go on there, and you just wonder how much mental coercion there is. And that might seem weird, but I'm seeing all this through some other eyes of late because I've heard from people from that region.
No, I absolutely see your point, but the other side of that is we still honor the vote of those people that are blinded by the lies and so forth they're told from the people here. Yeah,
it's still not our business to determine the outcome of another country's elections.
Right.
Well, and you have to look at, even if the people of Crimea did vote to separate, and I don't know how their constitution is set up. I'm not going to claim to be a Ukrainian constitutional scholar. But if it's anything like ours,
why not? I see the certificate hanging right behind your head. Right
but
now, granted,
it came in that box of Cracker Jacks. Come on.
It's written in crayon.
It's right next to my astronaut one.
Yeah, there's a stick figure on there. I got to be honest.
Yeah. Oh.
But I also believe that the Ukrainian government has to approve that, and there's just no way they want. And listen, you look at some of the events that have led up recently. There was an armed showdown today, like gun to gun, in the Ukraine, where the Russians were advancing on a base and the Ukrainians inside of the base, actually for the first time that I remember during this whole conflict, actually loaded their weapons, charged around, and pointed, and to the point that the Russians backed off, which I thought was amazing because I thought that was going to be it. It's going to come to a head soon. If the vote happens and it's against the Ukraine and they vote to separate to Russia, then I really, really think that the Ukrainians are going to say no, and it could go to an armed conflict pretty quick.
It could, because at that point you would have Russia saying, hey, these people voted. They want to join us. Now we honor, because Russia's going to recognize them.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Now it's Russia.
Russia's
going to recognize them. Hey, they voted. We recognize them as part of our territory. Now we're defending our territory.
Yeah, and
that's absolutely true.
If that happens, to watch our administration's reaction, and we talked about it last week.
You know what Obama will do? He'll go surfing and golfing. He won't do anything.
I do want to talk about that. I did want to bring that up. The fact that he goes on a vacation, and I know he had it planned, and I'm not going to be ignorant and say, oh, he just came up with this to get out of this at the last minute. But this is a pretty big conflict.
How many times have you given up vacation because something has happened at work? I know you have.
I have.
And I know I have.
And if he just said the family...
And this isn't a global crisis, a potential beginning of another Cold War or even a conventional war in Europe.
Right.
Yep.
And so...
I think he does it to avoid
everything.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't believe... I can't believe when we hear whenever there's some kind of tension going on, he changes the subject, does a little sidestep, and then heads on Air Force One and grabs, you know, the mom-in-law, the kids, the water dogs, and they head for a golf course and a beach somewhere. That's the solution. You know, oh my goodness, give me the days when W headed to the ranch.
Like every single time, and I'm sure it's not, but it does seem like every single time there's a major something going on,
right? He
does jump ship, and he's like, "Oh, peace, I'm out."
He does, and now granted,
like handle it plugs.
Yeah. And Michelle goes and gets the Cabana Boy. Now, we have no confirmed report on that yet, but that is something that we're looking into.
That's what she called her bossy. Right.
She's meeting Jimmy Fallon down there to dance on the beach. I think that's the deal.
Well, she's still mad about all the knuckleheads that voted Barack in, so I believe that was her exact
knuckleheads. You know, when will people ever wake up? Oh, my gosh, she just called you all knuckleheads.
But when this guy comes out and he gets mad and people defend him and say, "Oh, you guys are always everyone on the right's always unfair, and you absolutely don't look at the entirety, and you don't, he does this and he does that." When you have like Clint said, a global crisis that honestly could be the beginning of the next Cold War, and you jump on a plane. Instead of saying to Putin, and I'm sure this is like the kid that doesn't fight back, like if I don't fight back, you're not going to want to fight me. I'm sure it's that mentality.
Right, because it's not fun.
That whole anti-weird bullying thing. But if he turned around and he said, hey, you know what, wife, kids, you guys go. I get business to handle. I think, and the news ran with that.
I love you guys, but I'm staying here. Absolutely. You know, one of the funny pictures I saw that I posted that really summed up what I think of when I think of him and his foreign policy. It said that Obama was going to get really tough with Putin for doing this, and it showed him unfriending him on Facebook. And
suspending his Xbox Live account.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's about it. Like, take that, you big bully.
Take his birthday invite and throw it away. Well, you're not coming to my party, you big jerk.
Look, maybe
get no cake.
Maybe Obama's thought is this: Russia's a bully. Bullies take lunch money. We have no money. Our money is in China, so maybe he'll leave us alone and go bully China.
That's a good point. You really nailed it.
I did.
You know, Clint,
I mean, as if he threatens Putin one iota. Come on.
Oh, I know. We're just hoping. We're just spitballing here.
The KGB black belt.
So here's what you do. So you say, listen,
the organizer.
Listen, we may or may not have people operating in Russia, and the third guy on your left may disappear the next time you give a speech. And then the next time he gives a speech, the third guy on the left takes a round from a sniper through the head, and then Putin would say, oh, crap, they can actually get me and do it. And then you say, now, get out of the Ukraine, or bad things may happen to you. I think Putin would take that seriously.
He would never, but he knows it's not going to happen. I mean, look at this president's about to release CIA documents about torture that were allegedly occurred under the Bush administration because Obamacare he's getting hammered. He can't face anything head on. That's the thing. He doesn't face anything head on. He constantly, like Tami said, he tries to sidestep. He tries to change things. That has been his MO from the beginning. And it's showing up
one of the things that's really frightening is as we've got this, we're at this juncture in history where we've got Islamist jihadis around the globe embedded all over the place, all these cells and so forth that want to kill us not because of anything we've done, but because we're us and we're not Islamists. And all they understand is strength. So throughout most of the Middle East, we have one ally over there, which is Israel, and most of the rest of them that are, diehard Islamists, they want to see us gone. They want to see this caliphate. That's what they want, and they only understand strength. And then we've got Putin in the north. He only understands strength. We've got North Korea. They only understand strength and people that will act, as does China. So what do we have in the White House? We have the least strong president that we've ever had. People used to compare him to Carter, but I think he's far worse than Carter even. And we've got just a pansy of a person in the White House that does not know the first thing about not only national policy but foreign policy. He has no idea. He has no spine, no nothing. And at this juncture in history when strength is so desperately needed.
I think he has no spine on the international stage because I don't believe that's where his agenda has ever been focused. His agenda has always been, and he's had his spine in dealing with domestic issues in the United States. He has wanted to fundamentally transform the United States and move us from a representative republic into more of a pure democracy or some form of socialism and Marxist idea of what we should be. Hence we have hence we have Obamacare and other things he's tried to enact. So because of that, because his focus has been strictly internal, and he's been unable and, frankly, completely unprepared in looking out, I think the Republicans are going to miss a huge opportunity if in 2016 they run another very moderate Republican and name-only candidate as opposed to a true Reagan-esque conservative or even a Tea Party candidate.
That's what we need.
A true and that is, look, that's the only way that we are going to be able to deal with Russia, China, North Korea. Look, if we get somebody else in there who's tough on foreign policy, who's not a hawk, we're going to end up with having to choose. There is no way we could fight a war if Russia began a shooting war with Ukraine and our NATO allies got involved, and then we were forced through enactment of the NATO articles to take action. We could not fight a war there in Europe, and then China ends up invading the islands in Japan, and then now we have to help Japan. We can't do that. Couple that with North Korea taking action in Korea, and you have those three events go simultaneously in addition to the Middle East reigniting or flaring up again. There is no possible way. So Iran goes nuts, and Iran goes nuts and attacks Israel. There is no possible way we can deal with that.
No, and you add to that the fact that Obama not only is trying to fundamentally change America in all these other ways, he's also trying to decimate the military. He's using a rhino in the form of Hegel to do such a thing. And what is that going to do? It's going to leave us more and more vulnerable.
It is, and I want to address something that Rooster said in the chat room. Reagan-esque conservative, you mean a moderate. If by moderate you mean somebody who was pretty fiscally conservative with the exception of defense spending, which I know that big conservatives and Tea Party conservatives and even libertarians want to cut. Listen, I will take the defense spending if it means we have to be able to deal with a war on 4 potential fronts when we have that much at stake right now, and all of those countries are absolutely threatening us. So do you believe that Reagan was not as conservative as other people, or do you believe that he was more conservative than the people we have run? Because the people we have run have been left of moderate at best and rhinos, and I think they meet the definition of what most people refer to as a more moderate Republican as opposed to a conservative Republican.
Well, I think there's something we're all missing here, too, in this entire mix. Luxembourg. We all have to worry about what Luxembourg's going to do next. 41,000 people in that country. They could lose it at any moment.
And if they do, That's a huge deal. That's almost 1/4 of the size of the capital of California.
Yeah, it's darn crazy over there. I'll tell you, but they have great chocolate. Well, listen, and it's going to come down to Endgame, and we could sit here and talk about who we wish was in there right now, but right now we're stuck with what we have. We have the guy in mom jeans, and a fanny pack. Just constant. All I just picture him on vacation is just constantly running around, putting sunscreen on people. Like, oh, careful, you're not supposed to be out in the sun for more than 10 minutes. And
handing them broccoli.
Oh yeah, just gonna eat all your broccoli. All right, let's go sit. Did you have all your water?
You're talking about Obama?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I picture him like handing the Marine behind him a bottle of sunscreen and saying, "Put this on the back."
And keep holding that sun umbrella, will you?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking of Bloomberg.
You were thinking of Bloomberg. Yeah. Hey, kid, hold this sun umbrella. Where's your commanding officer? Get him over here. I need sunscreen on my back.
Oh my gosh. Well, we could either cry or laugh about these leaders, so it's a good thing we know how to laugh.
If we cry, I'd be dehydrated and die.
I know.
Because it would never stop.
It'd be like an I Love Lucy.
Don't give the NSA any ideas, Sean. They will play sad movies and songs for you in hopes that you will cry. And it's a new assassination.
All right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to loop the last 5 minutes of Saving Private Ryan over and over again on every television.
Oh my gosh, did you guys see what Rooster just wrote?
Yeah. Fortunately, the NSA did as well.
It's awesome. Well, you know that there's some Marines and some other special ops guys that wish they could do that.
I know.
Yep.
I know. But listen,
but then it'd be a hate crime. They would charge like the assault on the president and a hate crime on top of it, because the left would say, well, they just did that because he was
every
black.
crime isn't hateful. What's up with that?
Exactly.
I had a conversation about that last week with somebody when we talked about hate crimes, and I said, so
that was us.
Huh?
That was us.
Was that us?
Yeah.
Okay. So I know I had the conversation. That's good. I have somebody else that remembers it.
Yeah.
I've been having a lot of internal conversations.
No, that was us. We were standing in front of Starbucks. Weird.
I can't believe
you just pictured it, right?
I did.
Oh my gosh.
There. Oh man.
Right by the escalators.
So, Tami, because we're gonna wrap up the show, you're gonna do your new plug now, where everyone can find you on top of Right Voice Media and now your newest plug, and you're gonna have to get us a new commercial now too, by the way.
I am. I'm going to have to do that. I'll do that as soon as I possibly can. People can hear me. Anybody in Oregon or Northern California, if you have old-timey radio, we're actually on KYKN AM 1430. It's a Salem affiliate. It's actually in Kaiser, which is a suburb of the capital of Salem, but it's one of those Salem communication stations. So I am on 12 to 3 p.m. Pacific time on that show. They can also go to KYKN.com, and there is an audio streaming, there is video streaming. I'm only going to be in the studio a few days a week. I'm going to do some from the home office and then some in studio, but I will have 2 producers, believe it or not. It's amazing. And it's going to be midday with Tami Jackson. So it's going to be fun. I'm going to have some Oregon-centric stuff, but I'm still going to have some national people on. I've had Alan West and others. So I'm just thrilled to be on there. And people are welcome to call.
We certainly will, and I said I'm going to make a point tomorrow to call you and say congratulations and talk to you a little bit.
Oh, thank you.
And when you're ready, for that in-studio guest, just let us know. We'll make you crack up.
Sounds awesome.
No, why are you laughing? Seriously, we'll totally make the track up.
I'm taking you seriously, and I'm making note of that.
Car. Right.
Yep.
I just got plane tickets.
And I'll hand it to the producer and say, my buddies, Sackheads, will be in.
And they're going to be like, who? I don't even know.
That's weird. The door's locked when we get here. That's never, why we
guys come in through the door with sacks over their heads. These are my friends. These are the friends I have.
Yes, we're totally normal and sane. I got to plug where we're going to be this weekend because we're taking the show on the road this weekend. We will be at the California Republican Convention in San Francisco at the Hyatt Regency Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're in that area, if you go to the convention, come by our booth and say hello to the Sackheads.
Yep.
And
we will actually have our real faces shown.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Actually, we have some new technology where I can hide your face live.
And we're going to SEIU's booth, and we're going to ask them why SEIU is sponsoring the Republican convention. So it's going to be hard hitting. Let me tell you, it's going to be hard hitting. But yeah, no, we're mostly because of the tequila.
Oh, you guys, they put up the link to the page in the chat.
Yeah, I thought we all put that up early. Oh no, I see it. There it is. Iggy put it up.
Isn't that cute?
Thank you, Iggy.
Iggy
sweet.
is awesome. We love Iggy. She's a sweetheart as well, as is all of our
nice.
listeners.
Thank you, Iggy.
Well, Tami, congratulations once again, and we're getting the wrap up from Saco. So, thank you so much, and congratulations. We love you. We're so proud of you,
Tami. Wish you all the best.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Take care.
Take care.
You too.
There she goes, radio celebrity. Just
I know,
her away.
big deal.
It's absolutely
future
amazing.
Fox News contributor. I'm calling it here right now.
Right there, you got the call. Clint's calling it for Fox.
Hey, listen, we're doing really good with our calls.
We are. We're nailing it so far.
Still. So, what? Good show, my friend.
Good show. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of our friends in the chat room.
Yes, Saco, awesome job running the soundboard. Now, you guys couldn't see the fires now, but Saco did an amazing job. So, Saco, thank you. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Listen for our special shows this weekend, and I popped in on Spreaker here and there. We're going to be all over the place. We'll tweet it out before we do it. Thank you very much for listening. We'll also see you next Wednesday night, as it is every Wednesday night here on the Sackheads Radio Show. For Sackhead Clint, Sackhead Saco, and Sackhead Son.
Sean.
What's my name?
Sean?
Hey, that's it. I'm done.
That's it. Just play the music. Hey, I want to go back to that flag thing. I'm serious. I think we're onto something, right? The IRS enforces the flag code, and I think the Supreme Court, it would go all the way up, right? The Supreme Court would completely take the side because it's a tax. They'd have that same jackass ruling. There's already some kind of precedent set on this. Why on earth would you want to fly the American flag on Cinco de Mayo? Why the Mexican flag? Make it illegal, right? Celebrate our true culture and heritage. What could be more American